The CDFI was formed about in September 2014, and we are basically looking at using technology to reach financial services to the poor, also direct benefit payments to the poor, and innovations in this space, all of that. We'll specifically talk about it. We were formed sometime in September 2014, so it's about 1 year and 8 months, mainly funded by the Gates Foundation and also Dell Foundation, Omidyar Network, and Tata Trust. They are main 4 funding agencies, and we have a program across, as we saw, innovations, research, and thought leadership and program support. So the basic objectives what we do are around payments. So we do a lot of projects, and what has been different in the way CDFI does things is that we don't look at just payments in isolation. Many of them say they're looking at mobile payments or these payments. We only look at payments in the context of larger services. So in the context of education, agriculture, MSME, small shops, what is the problem there? And in the process of solving the problem, if payment is involved, we will do it. But the situation is always larger. So if a student wants to make a payment of his school fees or mess fees or something, you want a payment innovation, that is not the problem. The problem is education finance. How is the student going to get money to spend? So when you look at the entire issue, we address the whole ecosystem, and then payments is part of the whole story. So that is how we have been different in the way we have conceptualized projects, and that's partly coming from the kind of experience we have in the government. You don't just look at a small innovation in isolation unless you look at the entire ecosystem, and that is something which CDFI has brought new to the way things have been happening. So if you see, basically it's G2P, P2B, all sorts of payments can happen. Government to business, business to government, P2G, all of that
payment
combination.
Is always a component of that.
Yes, it will be somewhere a component, and financial inclusion in some form also, other inclusion around extending financial services. But the specific things we get deep into each of the segments and projects. As we get into the list of projects, you will realize how what we are doing deeper to understanding every project and making a change. So if you go to healthcare, how do you fundamentally change the way health services are being delivered through a payment innovation? Okay, and that is where the challenge of doing a project is coming in. So if you look at the specific initiatives, let us say with right side, if you start with education. So we started with this platform which we are supporting, which the POC has already happened, where we're actually providing needy students with education finance, higher education finance. So what the platform provides is, all companies in India, there is a concept in India called corporate CSR funds, corporate social responsibility funds. So we are allowing companies to structure education finance on the platform. It could be a scholarship, it could be a loan scholarship, or whatever. They will give a set of eligibility conditions. For example, they may say that I want to support girl students for nursing, in this particular state or in a tribal belt. Some company can come and put that condition. Another can say that I am going to fund engineering students in this particular area of electronic engineering. So each corporate can come and design its own education finance on the platform. Students across the country will be able to apply with their profile, and the system will automatically match, and then each student will have a dashboard where he is able to see where his requests have been matched, and then those scholarships can be given to those students directly. And along with that, we also brought in a controlled disbursement model, which I will discuss later. So this gives now when we have to do this project, if you understand, is that it's just not enough to look at the technology or the payment. You have to build a whole ecosystem. You have to work with corporates, make them aware of it, help them to design new programs. You have to work with a large number of education finance institutions, bring them on board so that they are connected with the platform, because the payments will go directly from the platform to the universities, and the students' attendance records would come directly back to the platform, so that corporates are able to see, I am funding the student, is he attending the class or is he running away, what is happening. So the entire end-to-end ecosystem has to be developed. So when we say payment is only a small part of the piece, but we are actually impacting education in the country. And what is the gap in education today? Because why we were inspired is that when we found education loans today in India, I don't know how it operates in your part of the world, they're basically more like mortgages. If your father or uncle has a property, you mortgage it and take a loan. You might as well drink beer with it, doesn't matter. It is not, education is a misnomer. It is just, if you have a property, you get education.
Give the
Collateral debt, what is the big deal? You think it's an education loan? It's not a loan. And who are the beneficiaries? Mainly the beneficiaries are the corporates. They stand outside the campuses and they recruit the best students. And who are the people funding it? It's the poor parents who are accumulating their life savings and pushing their children through. That is the story. So we said, why don't you bring the corporates to fund this through a platform so that they are going to be the final beneficiaries, get them involved in the whole ecosystem through education finance. So let's get back. Now that was on the education, that's on the wider thing of the education. Second thing which we are doing, which is linked to our financial inclusion, is another education platform which are put on the education, which we are calling Samvad. Samvad, what we are, it's an innovation where what we are saying is that a simple mobile phone, can we use it in it? Usually people use SMSs, but here what we are doing is a to and fro conversation, which is called Samvad in Sanskrit. So can we have a dialogue with every person at that level of poverty to tell him about financial literacy? And see, the topic is financial literacy. It could be anything. It could be health, agriculture, whatever it is. The platform is generic. So we have the content, and the content is specifically tailored for, say young people, for old women, middle-aged people, all different categories of buckets are there. And the system automatically gives messages, and based on the response, it shoots the next message. So there will be a story. For example, it may say, Meena is a poor girl, she's doing this, she's deciding to spend money on that. Do you think that's the right thing to do? Then the person will respond, no, he should save the money. Don't you think the money should be saved? So like that, step by step, taking them through financial literacy, then what is a bank account, why you should have a bank account, and all of that. So all of that is local language. So this was tested in rural Karnataka. It was found very successful, about 38% response rates, which was very high. In fact, when we first looked at this solution in our office, we felt nobody will respond to SMS, because we find SMSs dull and disturbing. But among the poor, it's very different. Somebody, you get an automated IVRS call and says that no, I want to do it. They feel very happy about it. They feel happy to be engaged, and they get back on that. The one problem we are facing here is that they are actually paying for the SMSs. And sometimes we have the responses saying, I am very happy to do this, but my SMS cost is getting cut. So can you do? So we actually need to scale it up, go to the government and say, you are spending hundreds of crores of rupees on financial literacy. This is the most scalable and cheap platform. Why don't you subsidize just the SMS cost? Why can you not give a free pack to the poor person to do it? If you look at the model today, a group of some fellows from the bank will go and put a camp in a village. They will call all villagers, they will give one lecture, and then they will go away. This is supposed to be financial literacy. It is the order of magnitude will cost 10 times this much or 100 times this much. Nothing is retained. The content is not changeable. It is a completely no-brainer that something like this should be used. And it is all local language. That's what we like about it. We have tried in Kannada and then Tamil, and now in Andhra we are trying to use the same platform. We have started the work on that to educate self-help groups. So a lot of women self-help groups are there which borrow money. So some basic concepts of finance they don't understand well. For example, if they are being provided some working capital or something, but they don't know what that means, how that is to be repaid, they have no idea. So we are just taking them through a lesson to make them understand this is what it is, why don't you take this? So there could be insurance products, many things for the poor people. So now SMS based solution has been done. So then phase 2, which is currently underway, it should be ready in a month or so, is where we are doing an internet app based one also. So people may have smartphones also in future going forward. So a smartphone based stuff, we are also planning some games there. So there is a small game telling people what it is to save money, and animated games. There are 2 steps to it. Our first thing which we are trying to do was to see whether people are responding, whether they are making a change there itself. So there we have done the first round of pilot and testing, and the interesting slightly counterintuitive things which we found. So we are coming out with a paper on that, full-fledged paper for a journal publication also, because new things, is that the more educated a person is, the lesser is enthusiasm. So it's almost a negative correlation. So the kind of people whom we want to reach, the poor, those are the ones most likely to get engaged. Okay, and certain segments, women are learning to get engaged more. There have been women who have actually learned to do SMS just to participate. So all these results we are going to come out. So that is the first level of testing. The second which we have to do is that monitoring the activity in the bank accounts to see that before this program what was the activity in the bank account, and after this what is the activity. So that is the next phase which we are going to work with some of the banks for doing it. On the MSME side, what we are doing in The Grand Kerala Shopping Festival that you saw is that where we actually brought in Kerala, they hold a shopping festival every year. It's been going on for the past 8 years around December, January, where they give lotteries, which are paper lotteries. The shops will buy lotteries from the government, and every shop will say, oh, you buy goods worth 2,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees, I'll give you 2 lotteries or 3 lotteries. So that system has been going on, and the final lottery actually is the Chief Minister comes and draws the final lottery, the big one. I think it's for how much? What are the prices?
1.5 crores.
1.5 crore is the final. So it's a big event in that state. So we felt, can we ride a digital payments lottery on top of this? So this was already running. So the innovation we brought in is that, can we have, when a person buys through a card or any other forms of electronic transaction, we will give him a digital lottery, maybe through an SMS or something which will go to him, and there will be a separate lottery for that. So that is an incentive to do that. So here the customer will demand an invoice, because he is getting a lottery, and therefore the tax revenues are going up. So that's why last 8 years Kerala government has been doing this, because there is a rise in the VAT revenue. So this is a win-win around it, around this whole situation. You get more tax, you get cashless, and we are trying to tell through this. In fact, we have another model that we have built, that actually cashless payment is important for the government to improve tax compliance, to bring transparency. It is not just for reducing the cost of the cash and all that, but the amount of tax revenues which are today getting leaked without it, and it will really go up.
Or reactive.
I'll tell you how these things happened. Interesting case also. First, sometime way before this program, 4 or 5 months earlier, we got a mail from our counterpart at the Gates Foundation that in some country called Slovakia, they have this system where they are using invoices. If you do a card transaction, the invoice comes with a number. So people there's a lottery program where the people collect that number and enter it, and there is a lottery which is drawn. So they said, this lottery, these people are collecting chits and entering it. So what can you think of like this in India? So this was just the stuff they thought. Can you think of something like this? So then we connected that. We saw the Grand Kerala Shopping Festival is actually doing something entirely different, and we linked all that to a completely digital solution. So there is no paper, shaper, everything there. We do it electronically, and we involve the banks, and that is how one part of the solution. Second is, why this problem? Because in India today, you would have heard about the Jan Dhan Yojana, where every household now has been covered with a bank account. Most of them have also been given RuPay cards. Okay. Not just for that segment, even among all segments, every bank gives RuPay debit cards. Nobody uses the debit card for cashless. They all use it for drawing money. So somewhere you have to make the person start using the debit card once or twice. Once he gets into the habit, he will do it. So that's what we felt. So we didn't go into a behavioral study to do that, but from personal thing, we knew that yes, if a card, I know that when I started using electronic banking, first time was a hurdle. But after that, I became so used to it that I don't feel like doing the other way now. So can we make some people dust off their cards and use it for the first time? So that is what Kerala Shopping Festival did, just getting out some first time users. So many people where the cards were not used are going to be able to use it. So these were the things which combined. The solution itself came from some international example which we totally combined into an Indian context and presented it. In fact, the Grand Kerala Shopping Festival in Kerala got renamed after we entered as the Grand Digital Kerala Shopping Festival, and now the next avatar is going to be called Digital Cochin. The way we do it is that we are partnered with the government of Kerala. So we are partnered with the government, and we have funded some part of the advertisement campaign, doing all of that we partner. The solution itself, which one of the banks got developed, also we funded, I think, some part of it, so that to get them started on that. But after that, it's now successful. We don't have to do anything further. We can just walk away. And the state government, we got an award for the most innovative project in that from the Chief Minister. So everybody it's now imbibed. So much so that they want to do a second avatar in the digital Cochin. They want to try it once again. So again, we'll partner and take it forward. We could have disengaged after the first thing also, but we are going further in that. So the second thing we are doing in the MSME side is that in the Kirana stores for the small shops, there are I think more than 1 crore small shops in the country, and all these are the neighborhood shops in a village and all that. So can we, what do you take to move them to cashless, both small and big Kirana shops? Because the cashless transactions are only used in those large departmental stores and MNCs. The small shops, the typical ones which we go to when we were kids, they don't have it. So we are trying to analyze the entire Kirana ecosystem. How can we make it cashless? How does he raise money today? Because he also has to get money to stock his inventory. So if you use cashless, that can generate a credit history, maybe give him more credit. So that ecosystem of a Kirana we are studying across 7 states and looking at the cost at which he raises money and the inventory turnover and all sorts of things we are studying around that. So that's a research project. So when we talked about research, this is what we are one of the research projects that we are doing in the Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, right. If you come on the governance side, the social security platform, which is being called kind of Sarvam by the government. So we helped conceptualize this whole platform because they felt, how do we scale up? The problem we got is, how does government scale up direct benefit transfers? Today, every department does its own, DBT program. So can we accelerate this whole process faster? So we studied the existing problems, we identified the bottlenecks and said, conceptualized a new platform which is called the social security platform. The government has named it the SSP platform. The minister himself gave this name, social security platform, and so that there can be one stop place, one database of all households in the country, and that one database is seeded with JAM. See, if you saw in our video, we talked about JAM. Those who are not familiar with it, that has been Modi's slogan, Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile.
Microservice is also telling that.
So this seeding a household database with Jan Dhan number, that is account number, Aadhaar number and mobile, and we seed the database at one shot across the country, and any department which wants to deliver a scheme can just go to that database and download a list of beneficiaries. So it doesn't have to do a fresh exercise. And if a citizen wants to say update his mobile number, he doesn't have to do it with every scheme. He goes to one scheme and updates it, and all schemes will get the data from there. So can there be a one-stop interface for getting DBT? So that is what we have conceptualized this. So this project is, we are still thinking through and subsequent steps with the government to roll it out and take it forward. Yeah, see, Aadhaar is only an individual database. So it's only targeting. That is not good enough for us to reach benefits to the poor, because poor, the unit is a household. It is not an individual. Okay, so I have to know the profile of that household, how many old people are there, what is the income, and then what can I teach to those people. So the backbone of any benefit delivery has to be household. So we are trying to build that, and then seed it with Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and mobile, and also have any other socio-economic indicators. See, we have diverse databases in the country today. We have a database which actually has got parameters like whether the household has a pakka house or a kacha house, whether it has got a vehicle or not. All those databases are there, but they are not getting linked into a government scheme in a proper way. So we are doing all of that through this platform. So these are all, actually these solutions for large government problems are very tough, but they have to be done. When you look at it, oh, who will do it? But somebody has to do it. So you have to get start and see how it's to be done. So that is the whole idea. So that is the social security platform that you see. And then we have the framework for designing DBT schemes. So what we did was, when we analyzed large number of government schemes, India has, central government alone, when we saw it about 4-5 months back, has more than 1,000 schemes, programs and sub-programs. Nobody really knows how many, what is there, so many. How many schemes are targeting women? We don't know. Nobody has a number. What is the amount?
Parallelly, how many things are going on?
One ministry is doing something, somebody says something for tribal women, somebody minority women, somebody children, mother, pregnant mother, unemployed people, all sorts of schemes. So is there one place where you have an analytics on this? Then use that analytics to devise new schemes. So if I want to devise a new scheme for women, I should know how many schemes are there today. What are they targeting? What are the sectional populations? That. Further, to build a scheme, can we have an automated platform that takes you step by step through a what if analysis and generates a scheme template in the end?
It's a metadata situation.
Yeah, you should generate an EFC. Chanel runs the EFC should come out automatically. Can we do that? So that is what we have prototyped, and we presented it to Deity and the cabinet secretary. They are happy with it. So we have to build a more detailed functioning thing out of that. So when people talk about analytics and big data, we are actually seeing that the place where it is needed the most, many of these areas are where it is not being used. They may be used for very fancy, business applications, but these are the areas where we want to bring analytics and use it. Then the next innovation on this governance thing is what we are called benefit entitlement tracking services, which is BETS is our short form. So this is another new innovation which you are looking at is that today there are two ways in which you are kind of delivering benefits. One is directly cash, okay, or we have in-kind benefits. You can go and get medicines or your rations or whatever. You go at subsidized rate you can find. And in all of these, there is usually wherever there is an in-kind benefit, there is massive leakage, because the government has to do procurement, then the entire supply chain will be there, and whatever you may do, there will be leakage. So figures may vary from country to country, there will be corruption, but it will never reach. So what we are trying to do here is, can we create an entitlement tracker? In this, what we are saying is that we create entitlement pockets for citizens, entitlements, and we can allow them to buy anywhere in specified shops up to defined limits and conditions. So instead of delivering a medicine free in thing, I say I am giving you an entitlement based on your Aadhaar. You can go and buy in any medicine shop. You please go, don't stand in line the government, and we will track what you are buying completely transparently. So at one shot, you don't have to manage this entire supply chain and all. This is not government's core competence. You can never do it well. Okay, it will keep leaking. There is a private enterprise which is running the entire supply chain. You please go and buy there in any normal medicine shop. So, or it could be even say things like PDS or ration. You can buy in any shop. You can go and buy grain. So this is a very fundamental kind of a transformatory innovation that we have come up. How did it come is also a story. We first looked at this in the context of the Vidya Sarathi education platform. So we said when an education finance is structured for a student, we can structure it so much for hostel fee, so much for mess, so much for books, and then we can control it so that the student will spend only at these outlets. So we designed an innovation, this design is there. Then we felt, then our steering committee said, "Arey, this is very generic. Why don't we make it generic? Why only education? Why not anything?" So then we created a very generic platform called Benefit Entitlement Tracking Services. So we are now trying to do this, apply it in two different use cases, which we will just come. Go to the next slide. There are two interesting programs. Since we talked about this innovation, let us straight away come here, where in health and nutrition we are looking at TB care and ICDs. So this is where, how do you use these innovations? That's what we first said. We have to get deep into domains. So we went into TB care, and in TB care, it's a major epidemic today in the country. And what the government or what private institutions are funding is that identifying TB patients and then supporting their treatment through diagnostic centers, medicines, and all of that. So it's an ideal case for our entitlement tracker. So when a person walks in, we create his entitlements and pockets. He's identified with TB, then he can go for tests, he can get medicines, and all of that will be cashless, and we'll be able to monitor it at the back end. So this is where we are testing that innovation. So when we get into this, we have to fully understand the TB ecosystem. What is the problem with tuberculosis today and why we do it? So again, we come back to our old strategy. Payment innovation by itself is not enough. You have to understand entire use case. Another interesting thing we are doing is ICDs, a child development scheme, where government has a program of providing food to children who are born new, and for mothers, pregnant mothers and those who have just in the lactating stage. That program again has a history of leakages. A lot of things don't actually reach the people. So we are trying to use this innovation also to reach these benefits to the mothers and children, and we are working with a corporate entity in that. So the corporate CSR funds are also coming, this is also coming, and we are creating a new model out of that. So that is another pretty interesting and complex project that we are doing. Okay. Next we come to here we get back to governance, electronic payments and receipts. So there the government had a plan of in 1 year to move, say, what is the percentage, Roy? 90%. 90% of all government Department of IT has a target from the Cabinet Secretariat to move all government payments and receipts 90% to electronic mode. So how do we do that? So needed a program structure for that. So we devised a whole program framework. So how do we move different ministries and departments step by step to do electronic transactions. So, under that framework, departments are divided into 3 categories, and there is a chalked out way from which they move from one category to the other and move to electronic transactions, and it has to be driven as a program. So, the program structure for that we are helping, we are driving that. Then we are also creating a portal to monitor different departments, how many have gone cashless in their payment and receipt transactions. Kind of role we play here, if you see, to conceptualize this, support a workshop, call all stakeholders, actually get the presentations made. So, we do the entire hand holding behind to make such a program happen, right. So, I will skip 1 or 2 of these. What we will also come here, since you are talking about the CSCs, there is a dashboard that we have created for monitoring of banking operations through the common services centers. Today, the common service centers across, they are also being used as banking intermediaries. But we would actually like to know what is it that they are doing out there in the field, how many are functional, how many transactions are happening, and what is going on. So, there with the CSCs, we have helped define a whole dashboard for them to be able to monitor centrally. So, roughly we try to cover most of the stuff. Now, we have also setting up an innovation lab, the Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, where we are trying to take our existing innovations there, and along with the students and maybe the other ecosystem around it, trying to develop new innovations and use cases. So, if you have the benefit entitlement tracker, what other use cases can we look at? If you can look at the dashboards, what other interfaces can we look at? So, like that we are doing. Here also the big comprehensive is not just this. This comprehensive, when we are saying framework for designing DBT schemes, we are looking at the entire gamut of all the government schemes, which is across all. So, this is again in lakhs of crores. Lakhs of crores, okay. This is comprehensive. EPR is actually moving 90% of all government payments and receipts to cashless. Massive. This also being driven by the Department of IT. So, these are all big ticket. 4th big ticket is fertilizers. Fertilizer subsidy is one of the largest subsidies of the government of India. I think it's 1.4% of the GDP or something. That's how big it is. So, we analyze the entire fertilizer scheme and a new model for a pilot to do direct benefit transfers on subsidies on fertilizer. Today, fertilizer subsidy, you get subsidized fertilizers in the country, and there is a lot of leakage, including fertilizers moving by trucks to Bangladesh and being sold there, because it is cheaper here, government is subsidizing, it goes there. So, all this kind of massive leakages are happening. Looking at this is also very big ticket items. Okay, so these are big comprehensive strategy. Now, the specific question here on one being long and short, even here what we are doing is that way a very pincer attack on it. This social security platform, from mid-December we started, okay, by mid-April today we have the entire government moving on it. And the interesting thing today in the government today is that they want to move at that speed. We got just a total of 4 days to think through, that's it. In the government there are people who are looking for ideas. If you take it, they look at it and then they pull you faster. DBT, we just talked about it once, DBT scheme, 2-3 places. They are calling us now for presentations. Please tell us. We are looking for a solution, tell us. Okay. So, everywhere our approach has been to go directly to the point and doing it, and that is why we are different from the others. So, every one of our projects, if I take ICDs, I can go to a state government and say, boss, this is what we can do. You can do this fast, these are the stuff. If I go fertilizer, they are trying to do something, we actually give a process, we say this is how it can change. So, we found today that this approach, this emphasis on execution and doing it is what is required in our places. We need more people to actually do, take a risk. We are all these projects, we are going where angels fear to tread. They are all tough problems. Nobody wants to go, everybody wants to nicely write from 50 pages of document and take my salary and go. But we get in, try and do it and try to make a change. So, risk is required, we need to take risk. So, if we are looking at something like this in your countries also, please encourage people who are actually going out there and doing it. Let him make a mistake, let him take a risk, only then it will happen, no.
Propensity to take risk
has to come, and speed and to move with a pincer attack, and that is what is required. So, our approach is whether to large comprehensive strategies or to innovations is the same. It is a pincer attack kind of stuff.